Your media, where you are.
Welcome to another episode of Redefining Your Money with Palesa. My name is Palesa Tolwe. I am a certified financial planner or a wealth manager at Imvelo Wealth Solutions. Today, I'm bringing you a completely different show to how we usually do things. You would know if you've watched the show before that we usually speak to financial experts, but today we speak about something very, very exciting, and we're speaking to someone who's also very, very exciting for me at least, and I hope you would also be equally excited, right? So I thought of still bringing someone who is a financial expert, but I just thought, you know what, I think we are all tired of just hearing, you need a financial planner, but you need this and you need that. And I thought, you know what, let's talk about something that everyone is currently doing at this point in time, or at least planning to do over the next few days. So this lady, I follow her on Instagram. I don't know if you don't, you must. You must follow her. Her page is called Black Case Girl. You can tell, even just by the name, that she is an exciting human being. She's exciting to be around. Black Case Girl. She's an adventure traveler. So I think you are guessing now we're talking about traveling. Noxy, welcome. I am very, very excited to have a chat with you. I am tired of talking about finance with finance people. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for inviting me.
I hope you are equally excited. You travel, girl, at least in my eyes.
Yeah, I try.
You try, ne?
Yeah.
So today you're going to tell us how you do it. What are some of the tips that we need to make sure that we look at before we start traveling? And of course, because we are a finance show, we'll just touch a little bit on, okay, how do we make sure that we are ready to do this thing? Ne?
Right.
But before we get there, please just tell us a bit about all the projects that you get involved, because I know you do quite a bit. You are a hiker, an avid hiker. You have recently done Mount Kilimanjaro, right?
That was last year.
That's very recent. Considering COVID, that's very recent. You have a blog. You were very busy on the Twitter space as well, just giving people tips on what to look at when you travel and things like that. I know you endorse, or you endorse a short left as well. So there's just quite a bit that you get involved in, but all about just being, I think, a balanced human being, right? So go for it and just give us a full introduction.
So you mentioned balanced, and that's very important, especially in the times we living in. You mentioned COVID. We all experienced COVID, and it wasn't a nice experience. No one wants to get back there, and I'm very happy to be here today talking about traveling. As you have mentioned, a lot of people will be embarking on holidays. I'll be going home, so I will be sharing trips.
You've already done all the trips for the year, so you can just go home, because wow, we need this as well, you know.
Not really.
Costly
space.
space.
This year hasn't been one of the busiest for me. It hasn't been. It hasn't been.
But really looking at your page, having looked at your page, you've been traveling for years.
Yeah.
You've been traveling for years. And yeah, so what brought you to just put together Adventure Travel Tribe, and, you know, how did you end up being a Black Case Girl and all those exciting things that you do?
Okay. So maybe let me try by introducing myself. So Noxolo Kapela. From Butterworth in Sobomvu. It's a very small town, but it's beautiful. And I'm number 5 of 8.
Oh.
Yes, 8. And I grew up in Butterworth. As I mentioned, it's a small town, but even then, I always loved moving around. It would sometimes mean going to a nearby location, and maybe doing it twice a day, and people couldn't understand who does that. And for me, it was nothing, because I've just realized now, when I started hiking, that I've always enjoyed walking. So I think bringing all those things together, it led me to being someone that loves and enjoys traveling. So my travel journey started way back. I think when I started working, when I could make money for it. So I would go to Cape Town a lot. Like I would visit Cape Town maybe twice or three times a year. I had a friend in Margate, so I would go there. So I've been traveling since I would say 2004 when I started working. And through that, at work, what I do communication and stakeholder management. So that involves writing. So through my love for writing and my love for travel, I decided, let me rather do something worthwhile. So I created a blog, Black Case Girl, where I shared my experiences, my tips, and I would invite people sometimes, and then I'll share their stories. And then when social media was at its peak, I also got into that, and I've got a page on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. The handle is the same, Black Case Girl, with just a few variations. So maybe we'll get to that.
And why the name Black Case Girl? It's an interesting name because I remember when I was looking for you first time, because I knew of you. I mean, the name we met through hiking, and so I was looking for your name, and I'm looking for Noxolo, Noxi, and ultimately I can't remember if a friend then told me that no, Black Case Girl, and I ultimately found, you told me that it's Black Case Girl. Then I found, and I was like, interesting name. So how did you come up with that name? Because it tells a lot about your life story, right?
Yes. When I started blogging, they said you must choose your name wisely. So I'm all about traveling, and I'm a Black lady. I'm no longer a girl. So I decided to go with Black Case Girl because I'm always on the road, always carrying a suitcase. So it's up to you whether you want to flag it as a black girl who's always on the move, or just a girl who's always on the move carrying a black case. So it's just a play of words, but it's all about traveling and always being on the move and being Black.
Definitely being on the move is what I know you. I know you as. Now tell me, because obviously what's fascinating for me is I love traveling, but I don't know a first thing about planning for traveling. And I mean, we'll get into the finance part of it, which is, something that it's not always exciting, but we need to think about. But what are some of the things that that you would want to advise our viewers on, because I've listened to your blogs as well, and you bring in those discussions to say, you know what, if you want to travel around South Africa, these are maybe types of areas that you can go to without really breaking the bank and things like that. But this is what you need to be careful of when you go to Thailand and go to these areas and that area. These are some of the things that you want to make sure that you have or you've planned for.
So it's going to be a lengthy one. You're going to have to tell me to stop.
No worries.
Because when you talk about planning, you touch on a lot of things. So for me, my planning starts with knowing what do I want to do in the following year. So with me, it always starts a year before or 2 years before. So that for me is key, because it now comes back to your budget. So you need to know how much money you are preparing to spend in the following year. And then that helps because you end up spending less, because as we all know, if you book a flight today to travel today, it's going to be super expensive. But if you book that flight 3 months prior, or even a year prior, because sometimes they will open a flight for you to be able to book it a year in advance. So you must always be on the lookout for those type of specials. And you must choose a destination that you know is gonna do a lot for you. I'm an adventure traveler. as much as I don't like putting tags or defining myself as one thing, but throughout my travels, I've realized one thing, that I enjoy adventure. So whenever I travel, there's always an adventure activity that I'm going to do, and
That's why your content is always appealing.
yeah,
Content.
and we've decided that wherever we go, we're gonna hike.
Okay.
So there's always gonna be that element of adventure. So for me, if I say I'm going to Bali, I will do all the other stuff that other people are doing, but I'll have that adventure element. And for people that have traveled to Bali, that is not common at all.
Yeah.
Because when we went to Bali, we hiked an active volcano, which is something
You guys are brave.
something people will never do. But it's an active volcano, but it's not that active, because they said the last eruption was, I think, 10 years ago when we went. So they were not expecting it anytime soon when we were there. So maybe if you go this year, you need to find out when are they expecting an eruption. Because even when we were there, we could see the steam coming
There was still
underground.
steam.
Yes.
Sure. So the volcano happened 10 years ago, but there was still steam.
Yes.
Gosh. Okay. So what you're saying then is one must investigate now. So if we're saying we want to travel next year, March, we must just check are they expecting any in March next year?
Yes.
Check now.
Yes.
Okay.
If you want to do the Mount Batur hike, you need to make sure that you know those things. And so you do your research. You know what you want to get out of that country. For me, it's always adventure. For other people, it's just sitting by the beach. And for other people, is visiting a lot of museums. And for other people, it's just spending time at restaurants and doing the nightlife. So you need to know what you want and what type of a traveler are you, so that you plan properly. So we've touched on
So what do you need to do?
research.
Yeah, the research that you need to do.
Yes, and then when you're doing your research, I'm gonna come back to accommodation. Accommodation is very easy to manage. You know where you're going. You book that first before you even book your flights, because with accommodation you can cancel anytime. Or if you are not sure, ask if you can cancel accommodation whenever you feel like it. So you book your flights first, your accommodation first, and then once you are sure that you are really, really taking that trip, must then book your flights, because if you book your flights well in advance, you're gonna save a lot of money.
But which one do you do first? Do you book your accommodation first and then flights, or flights first and then accommodation?
Accommodation first, because it's easy to maneuver.
To cancel accommodation.
Yes.
But with that said, Noxy, I want us to just maybe explore this. Other people would go with a travel agency, and sometimes that can work out very, very expensive, because the travel agency will charge XYZ in addition to the things that you are going there to do. And other people would book for themselves directly with the different things or places and the things that you want to do. Cost effectiveness of the two options, which one would you go with in your experience?
It depends. It differs all the time, even for me. I have done trips where it was all me. Like I did everything from flights to accommodation to the trails. When we did Switzerland, if you can remember, that was back in 2018.
Okay.
So we did Switzerland in 12 days. And we did that ourselves. So we booked our own accommodation, flights. No, flights we used an agent, but accommodation we did it ourselves. So for me, you always weigh your options. If it's a place that is easy for you to book, then you do it yourself. But if you find that like during COVID, there was no way I was gonna try and book a flight myself. So it was always better to use an agent, because they will advise you on on all the updated regulations for each country. I would know more about South Africa, and then if I want to go to the UAE, I would know maybe about one of the countries, and then I get there and I'm told the regulation have changed because I'm not constantly on my computer. But if you book via an agent, that's what they do. They check those things on a daily.
Okay.
So
So you basically get what your money is worth, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
so
Alright.
I wouldn't say people must do their own bookings, and I wouldn't say they must go with an agent. You must weigh your options. We have an agent that we use most of the time, and we are happy with that because it helps us. Sometimes they don't charge a lot of money. I think you need to also do research and check what rates are they charging you, because for some people there's a 10% or 5% or just a small amount, so you won't know that until you ask them. So and then you decide which one are you going with. So
But what's the going rate? Is there a going rate that travel agencies are supposed to charge in excess of the actual stuff that you are paying for?
no,
Not really.
No,
So some
but-
of them can charge you an additional 30% or 50% or whatever
Yes.
percent, depending on, okay.
there's big ones that are regulated, and then there's small ones that are not regulated.
Okay.
Like if I can decide to organize a trip, I'm not affiliated under any authority or
Travel authority.
yes. So I can charge as I see fit. So
But then what would you
If you-
recommend?
if you're
Would
going-
you say rather
if you-
go with a
Yeah.
regulated one?
yes, all the time, all the time.
Okay.
So if you are taking an international trip, it's always advisable to go with a reputable brand, and it's okay to be skeptical and not trust anyone, even myself. Don't trust me. Just
Yeah.
do your research, find out from other people. If they're happy with me, then you can use me, but I'm not a travel agent. I'm just making an example. So use a travel agent if it's gonna work for you, and you can do your own trip sometimes. When
Okay.
I move around South Africa, I don't use a travel agent.
But
I
how
do
would
it
you
myself.
know? How would you know? And we'll come back to the South Africa. I really want to touch on that. But how do you know that the travel agency is regulated? Where would you check? What would one typically check?
I think they are regulated by is it South African Tourism
The tourism, ne?
Authority. I
Okay,
think
I
there
thought
is,
it
yeah,
would be
the one
that.
that does the
The
grading of
grading,
hotels.
yeah,
Yes,
4, 5
I just
star and
forgot
what
the
have you.
actual name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you check on their website. If there's no website, then you check their reviews. The reviews they never lie. So because it's people, they're not paid to write anything. So if you check their reviews, you can never go wrong.
Okay.
But yeah, okay, we can't recommend anyone. So
Oh yeah, of course. So let's come back then to South Africa. So again, I've listened to conversations that you guys have around traveling in South Africa, and you make it sound so easy. And we are all about, and I'm saying we as people that are least traveled. We always go to the same place. We always go to KZN, Cape Town, and even there we go to the main areas. So, and I've seen your pictures, and you guys travel to the most exciting places and you do the most exciting things. How do you do that, and where does one do research to find these other alternative places and other alternative things to do when you go on holidays?
okay, so as I mentioned earlier, for me, it's always research. So it's easy these days because there's blogs and there's a lot of content creators out there. So if you are invested in travel, you need to follow a lot of them. So follow content creators, travel content creators, and just do your own research. If you're going to Cape Town, there's Table Mountain. If you want to do that, that's fine. But what else is there? So you go onto the internet, you check things to do for free in Cape Town, things to do for under 100 rands in Cape Town. You'll get that information. So it's not as difficult as it used to be. There's now channels where you can just go, click, and you get all the information. But for me, it's always it always comes back to me knowing what I want and knowing what I want to get out of that holiday. And for me, it's always maximizing on my holiday. I do everything. And sometimes I'll come back home and I'll still feel tired because I haven't rested. But I'm trying to correct that as I get older. I'm trying to correct that because you can't come back from a holiday and still feel tired.
Need a holiday.
So what I do, I make sure that I space my travel. So I'm not one to go to, let's say, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Botswana in 4 days. I'll never do that. That's just you torturing yourself.
Yeah.
So you must make sure that you allocate a number of days for if you want to move in between
location.
countries. Yeah.
Okay.
So if I'm spending 4 days in Paternoster, I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to want to eat nice food from the area. I'm going to want to do some adventure stuff. And I'm going to maybe just want to sit at home and do nothing. So you need to research and find out what is happening in each town you want to visit. And coming to the prices, because you would also want to know, okay, you're talking about doing adventure stuff, but where do I get all that money? So there is this hack that has been there for years. Even at the embassy, they will ask you, how much do you have? They will want you would think that question is just them being difficult. No, it's not. So they're trying to make sure that you, when you get to a country, you don't end up in the streets with nothing at all. Because some people will just take their bags, say, I'm going to Cape Town with no plan at all.
Yeah.
But that's very dangerous, especially during these times. So when you visit, you must have a budget for each day, not 5,000 for 8 days. You must have budget for, break it down to each day. Yes, then you will never you'll enjoy your holiday. So if you're going to have a 3-day stay in Cape Town, and then you move to let's say to the west coast, and then you also want to do the Atlantis dunes, you must have budget for each day and know what more or less activities you want to do. So once you are clear on that, then you can be able to divide your money accordingly. So let's say for international travel, before COVID, the standard was that you must have 1,500 for each day. But that will depend where you're going, because for European countries,
so 1,500 rands.
Yes.
Not dollars.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
rands.
Okay.
So when you're going to European countries, remember the euro will be a bit expensive. So they will say maybe around 2,000 a day.
Okay.
So
per person.
Per person, yes.
Okay.
So if you're spending
Alright.
9 days,
Okay.
you must have 1.5 times 9.
Wow. Okay.
And that helps because whatever you end up not spending on that day, you can carry over to the next day. And most of the time, I've seen with my friends, they will come back with a lot of money. So it doesn't mean that all the money that you put aside, you're going to spend, or you have to spend it. No. There are days where you'll be sitting at home, maybe just buy pizza or that dinner. Then you would have spent maybe 400 rands out of the 1.5. So that's still your money. So you will keep that.
Okay.
It comes back to your pocket. So it's just a standard to know that you have this cushion.
Rather have a
Yes.
cushion, than
Yes.
have less, and then you end up being stranded in a foreign country, especially.
So that helps.
Okay, all right. No, that's perfect. I'm happy to hear that, Noxie. Now, as financial advisors, we always have to take it there, right? As financial advisors, we help you to plan. We help you to plan for your life, whether you want to buy a car, or you want to buy a house, or you want to make sure that you have certain things in your life. And I wonder if we add any value, because traveling, as you have mentioned, can be very, very expensive. We are going to that time now. Everyone will be wanting to travel. Probably many people will be traveling around, especially Black South Africans, if I may put it like that. But there's other people that would want, black, white, pink, blue, would want to go overseas and all that. So how do we, as financial planners, if I'm sitting with you and you're my client, how do we assist you in making sure? And I want to hear it from you, because we often think that we're supposed to push to you and say, Noxy, you need to do this and you need to do that. But what if those are not things that you're interested in?
Yeah.
And what if you can't? And what if that doesn't talk to you? How do we help you to make sure that you are able to have this 1,500 per month, or per day rather,
Yeah.
or this 2,000 rands per day if you're going to go to a European country, and add kids to that list, it gets too complicated. But how do we help you to make sure that you have planned enough for when you're going to travel to these destinations that are very exciting for all of us?
So throughout the years, I've learned that long-term and short-term investment comes in very handy. So when I say long-term, there's people that know that in 5 years' time, I'll be in Paris taking my daughter for a matric getaway.
Yeah.
Let's say after a child finishes matric, you want to take them away before they go to varsity. And that would have been something that we've planned maybe 5 years ago. So as a financial advisor, I would ask you which would be the best option for me if I want to save this money. Because I would have done my research to say, I want to spend 10 days and I'll be moving between Paris, Italy, and Rome. So you'll have a rough of how much you'd need. Then that's where you come in, where you tell me, okay, if you want to spend 26,000 per person in 2035, what options do we have for you to invest that money? So I think you become a very important part of that journey. That is long term. And then for short term, we also need assistance with planning our finances. I'm not very good with my finances. I would be first to admit that, but I make it work, because as you grow, you learn to understand yourself and know who you are. And then knowing yourself, it means you will know your shortcomings. And when I say I'm not good with financial planning, I mean it. And that's why I would ask someone like you to say, I need to save 2,000 every month. Which are the best investment platforms I can use for short term? So that will be money that I'll be using at the end of the year. Like now, if I wanted to do a holiday, maybe let's say I go to Namibia with my family, that's a lot of money. But Namibia, when I look at it, it can be done with just 1 year's saving. Let's say I can pull that off. So I would ask you, which options do I have? So I think financial planning is very important, and it's a very important part of our lives as travelers.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So and what are some of the things that, when you think back, I mean, you've been traveling since 2004, at least, act with your own money.
Yeah.
Before that, you were traveling with parents' money or
I
someone
didn't
else's
even
money.
travel at all.
But what are some of the things, ever since you've been traveling, that you feel you've made mistakes on and you would want to now improve, or you've done so well and you want to continue? So maybe 2 things that you think you made mistakes on, and 2 things that you think, here I'd like to improve. I mean, here I did very well and I will continue.
Okay.
Well, I'm not limiting you to a number. It can be more. I was just saying. I like counting things. Yeah, I like counting you.
Let's just stick to the 2. So, like I said, I've been traveling, but I think in 2016, when I decided to take my traveling very serious, when I decided to be intentional about my travel, I set myself down and I asked, do you have money to travel? And the answer was no. And what are you going to change to make sure that you can travel? So first step for me was cutting on buying shoes. I was a girl that loved good shoes.
Wow.
Like when I say
Okay.
when
Okay,
when I say good shoes, I mean like proper. So that took a lot of money from my pocket. So when I stopped that, I could have money to travel.
Okay.
So that was the first thing, and then I also enjoy looking good. So I would buy some nice clothes, and sometimes it would be me buying clothes almost every month, and that is not sustainable.
No, it's not.
So when I decided to be intentional about my travel, I decided to cut down on buying clothes as well. So I stopped completely. 2017, 18, I was very strict. I don't know what happened in 2019 because I found myself now, because remember I had stopped buying stilettos and all that, and then I found myself buying a lot of sneakers, which now means I'm
you
I'm
just-
spending money again. So
you
yeah,
just shifted.
but yeah, I've managed to pick that up, and then I'm also trying to get back to where I was. But you need to be able to make those decisions, and make sure that you stick to them. Because if we are being honest, if you live in South Africa, if you work a 9 to 5, chances are you don't have enough money
To do everything.
to do
that you
everything
want.
that you would like to do. So you need to prioritize. Find out what's important for you, what makes you happy. For me, traveling is not an option. If I don't travel for 3 months, that means I'm not okay.
You get sick.
Yeah. So when you talk about that balance that each and every individual should have, if I'm not traveling, then I'm not balanced. So I'm not going to function properly.
Yeah.
So for me, that took the first priority. So I created space for me to travel, and I made sure that with me traveling, I still am able to maintain a home. I'm still able to make sure that my daughter is well taken care of, and she is safe wherever she is. So it's those things. But when I started traveling a lot, I didn't consider all that. Like when I started earlier.
Yeah.
So those are the things that I regret, because when I started saving money in 2017, I could see where I'm going. I could see a direction that I'm moving in, and a lot of things changed. So prior to 2017, I was just traveling, and whether it meant we'll eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, then I would do that. So now I can eat whatever I want, because I plan for
You
everything.
plan for everything.
Yeah.
So it's all about planning. So what I'm hearing you say is you need to look at your habits. You need to identify exactly what is it that fulfills you, and then you focus your energies and your finances into that. And if travel is then that you really like, then you can be able, and it's possible that you can actually be able to plan for it properly, have enough money for it, and use that to balance your life without it really messing up your entire livelihood, because it can happen.
Yeah,
right?
it's very easy. It's very easy for it to go south.
To go
Because
south.
if I want to travel and I don't have enough money, it's very easy for me to get a second and a third credit card.
Exactly.
And that's not healthy, because at the end of the month you still need to pay those credit cards. So if you don't manage it properly, yes, you will travel, yes, you will flaunt that lifestyle, but at night you will not be happy at the person that you see in the mirror, because if you're not happy, then why are you still around? Why are you living? And what type of a life are you living if you're not happy?
Yeah.
So yeah, you need to guard against those things.
Sure. No, so you've given us some serious nuggets to think about. Even for me, you have given me some serious nuggets to think about.
Yes, traveler.
So this, so look, I do love traveling as well, but perhaps, one needs to just reevaluate a certain things and get to that point where it's structured, it's tailored, and it's planned for properly. And thank you so much for your time. I mean, I know there's lots of things that I would have hoped that I had briefed you briefly that we can chat about, but we don't have enough time. Next time when we chat, and we will definitely have a next time when we chat, I'd like to bring Osli into this discussion, and so that we can just have that,
nice
discussion, that conversation about the locals, how they can help you when you get to certain destinations, and how, when you guys do the hiking travels, it's quite fascinating for me, some of the things that you said. Make sure you have this, and that. And yes, it makes me scared, but at the same time, it's exciting, and it's something to look forward to. So thank you so much for your time, and just allowing me into your space, because it is your space. And I will continue to look at your stuff.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Oh,
it's always nice for me to impart the little knowledge that I have. As you were mentioning, things to pack, there's always stuff that you can leave at home, you don't need. And that's where you save your money the most, when you don't carry everything. Because when I say carry everything, I don't mean the stuff that you have at home. Sometimes it means buying stuff before the trip, and you don't want to do it.
We spend a lot of money on things that you're not going to need when you get there, but you think you need. And everywhere we go, there's shops, right? If you really must buy. Anyway, thank you so much, Noxie. I really, really appreciate your time. So please continue to enjoy traveling, continue traveling. And
I'll try.
Please keep sharing and keep inspiring us. Because at the end of the day, we're not only working just so that we can go and die. We're working so that we can leave memories and enjoy it. Enjoy it while we can, and leave memories when we are gone. And for me, I know we always talk of death as, what if you die? What if you die? But what if you live? You know, what do you have for yourself? What are you which pictures are you gonna look at? What are they gonna look like? Right? So from me, let's plan first. Save for it, be intentional, and continue to live a balanced life. And from us at Your Media and the She platform, we really, really appreciate having these conversations, and we hope that we have empowered you to continue to be yourself, but also to do it in a more structured way, so that you don't have to look back many years later and regret it. And from myself, Palesa, and the team that helps me to put together Redefining Your Money with Palesa, I hope that we have done exactly that today, have redefined your lifestyle as well as your finances. Thank you, and till we meet again, or till we chat again.